Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to speak to you both today. How are you doing?
Hi, good. How are you, Sarah?
Great, thank you. Maybe just kick off with a brief intro to The Damned for people who don't know anything about it. What can they expect going in?
Yeah, it's a nice psychological horror film set in Iceland, isolated, group of people. They get faced with a decision that they have to make. They're snowed in for the winter, running low on their rations, and then they see a ship has sunk off their shores, and they have to make a decision. Do they go out there and save these poor foreigners drowning in the ocean, or do they think about themselves and just act like they haven't seen them and let them drown? Horror ensues.
Such a compelling premise for a film. Can you tell us a bit about how it all came about and why you wanted to make it?
I've always been a fan of horror. This one was kind of, it all came from as one would say, the inciting incident. What if, you were faced with a decision that is a very difficult one? Do we take care of our own, or do we help innocent people? And back in the day, it took us 8 years to make this film. So it's been a while since we the initial idea. But it had to do with those kinds of questions, but also Icelandic myths, the myth of the Draugur, which is the entity in the film, and certain Icelandic history, that some of these things, there used to be quite a lot of wrecking. They used to take the light, turn the lighthouse off and put the light somewhere else, and ships would hit the rocks. So it's all kinds of elements, and then when one sits down, you try and boil them down. But yeah. So and then also working with really really talented people. I work with Jamie Hankin, the screenwriter, Emily Camila, the producers, and so yeah. So and then you get the story of the damned.
And for you, Odessa, I mean, what a role in Ava. Such a fascinating character to take on, but also, challenging probably in lots of different ways, having to kind of immerse yourself in that period setting, get to grips with kind of what's going on with her psychologically. She's very much a woman in a very male-dominated kind of atmosphere. So when you first read the script, what really jumped out to you, and why did you want to play her?
I mean, what jumped out was just how well written it was and how it felt very airtight. It felt like everything was very considered and thoughtful, and this character was never simple. It's like her decision-making processes are not typical ones that you get to see. Like I always kind of said when Laura and I started first having conversations about this, like I kind of was reading it like a political thriller. I was like, this is somebody who is forced into a corner, who has to make the hardest decision that anybody could ever have to make. It's really like the classic philosophical conundrum of like, would you switch the train lines to save people on the tracks, or whatever the actual thing is. But I just really liked the idea that it could allow, such a scenario could allow for a really fun and really interesting and compelling opportunity to just go a little bit crazy in Iceland. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like, that's what is fun about the film. That's what I really loved about shooting it, is the kind of the proximity of like neurosis to the story, and how it is so easy when you are that isolated and when you are not getting enough hours of daylight every day, how easy it is to start to feel things slipping away and to let your fear and your paranoia kind of take over. And that was my initial feeling about it. That was my initial way in.
And the making of it, I mean, to watch it, you feel so immersed in this location, in this place, and how kind of atmospheric it is, but also kind of cold and brutal. So I don't know if any of that was also your experience of being on set and having to shoot it. So for you, from a director's perspective, what might have been some of the challenges, but also some of the highlights along the way?
Well, I mean, you want to, like you said, you want to immerse the viewer in this world. You want to try and find some kind of reality, and shooting on location in the West Fjords you're getting these beautiful shots of these mountains and these fjords and the snow, but also you're fighting the elements, which is the weather, the Atlantic wind that gets in your bones. And these poor actors had to wear these very, very thin, period accurate costumes, but I think we were actually just very lucky. We lost the snow at one point, and for a film like this, that's could have been the death of us. But you know, I got my grandmother to pray to God, and we got the snow back. And I don't know if it was my grandmother that helped us or not, but so yeah. But I think we were very lucky. But I think all those natural elements that could have been working against us, they all helped us to kind of get that feeling of, you know, isolation, claustrophobia, and the bleakness. And I think, and we try to capture it all, you know, in camera. And I think we're able to do it.
And for you, Odessa, I guess both from the practical aspect, like you're saying, you know, being there in those costumes in the snow must have been tough, but also with your fellow actors, because of course, part of the intensity of it all is how those relationships are kind of like shifting, and you're kind of, you know, there's a claustrophobia there. So you must have had to have kind of like a really good relationship going and a good kind of shorthand with each other, particularly with Joe Cole, for example, to kind of make that work and pull that off.
Yeah, there were 2 restaurants in the town that we shot in. So if you went to one of them and you didn't see your friends, then you'd just go to the other one and you'd see your friends. So it was, I think that the kind of isolation of the town allowed us all to just lean on each other and rely on each other, and also really helped that all those actors are just fantastic people and want to have a nice time, and no one's, you know, no one's trying to be too serious about anything. We're just realizing that we've got to be in this place all together for 6 weeks or 2 months or however we ended up, however long we were there. And it just really, yeah, we really got lucky. I think that the casting was just really, really, really thoughtful, good casting that Thor did. I think ultimately, like, chemistry or getting along with your co-stars, your scene partners, is just a choice, and we all made the choice to just like get along, because what else are you gonna do?
Did you have a particular scene that you found most challenging? I mean, I guess whether that is from a kind of physical, logistical kind of perspective, or when you are having to kind of push to those really dark places, you know, the kind of the psychological unraveling of it all. I don't know, maybe that was kind of more tough from a different perspective.
Well, I mean, I think all of the scenes were challenging in their own way. I think a lot of it was trying to stay present when you're, you know, the bottom half of your skirt is an ice block. And things like that, you know, it's like tough. It's tough to keep focus. And I hadn't worked on, I had done like, I dabbled in the kind of horror or thriller genres before, but I hadn't worked on something that was so very steeped in the genre. And I think that I found, you know, there's challenges involved with just doing something in a new style and trying to kind of calibrate yourself to the tone of something. But I think that, I don't know, every challenge ended up becoming something that made me enjoy the process of making the film more. And I think a lot of it was problem solving, just trying to make things work on the fly, because we could never have like a plan for the day. You know, it's like, it's not like I could prepare this really big scene that I knew I was going to shoot that day. It was like, we'd wake up in the morning and we might be shooting a completely different part of the film because the weather didn't allow us to. It's like we had to be very flexible and malleable. And so that was a challenge, but it was also incredibly rewarding to get to complete a scene, to complete a day.
I think I'm out of time, unfortunately, but thank you so much for sharing all that with me. And I can't wait for everyone else to see The Damned. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.